Hello everyone, this is Eva Nolik-Smith and I'm very pleased to be here today with yoga teacher and author Sue Elkind, owner and director of Dig Yoga, a yoga studio on the East Coast which offers 200 and 500-hour teacher training programs. Sue has been a yoga teacher for more than 20 years. She is an expert in prenatal and postnatal yoga and the author of Dig Pregnancy, Birth and Baby, a conscious and empowered approach to prenatal and postnatal yoga. So welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about your yoga journey. You've been a yoga teacher for many years, and you're now a leading expert on prenatal yoga and postnatal yoga. So tell us about how that all came about.
Sure. Well, let's see. My journey in yoga began in New York City when it was really hard to find yoga, actually. And it was pretty underground in some ways. I think Jivamukti was around. It was in the late 80s. And the yoga that I was doing was at the end of the evening at a gym where the lights were out and it was very calm and relaxing. And when I moved to Los Angeles in 1991, it was like a whole different experience for me. I expected the yoga to be the same, and I got into what we call a power yoga class. I think it was with Baron Baptiste, and I was looking at the clock the whole time, wondering if I was going to leave, like dying, and then thought, you know what, I can do this. And it was like something clicked inside, and I just continued and made it part of my life. And I didn't consider teaching yoga. It was just the way in which that I, used it as a support for the crazy work that I was doing in Hollywood at the time. So, yeah, I kind of over the years, and I look at how long it's been now, I got very lucky because Los Angeles was such a hub for incredible learning. And the only reason why I started teaching was that Baron moved town to go train the Philadelphia Eagles, and I just needed my yoga class. So I started to lead the class and then realized, gosh, I better get some training. And, that was 1994 or 5, maybe, something like that. So, yeah, so that was the beginning of it. And I never stopped. I never stopped taking workshops and learning, and it was an amazing community in Los Angeles, and ended up opening up a studio over the years. And, one thing led to another. And my life as a graphic designer flipped over to yoga full time. And yeah,
That's
it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, and then from being a full-time yoga teacher, you got into prenatal yoga and have written a book on it.
It's interesting. I started to right away when I was teaching, I had pregnant women in my classes. And so what I would do, I wasn't pregnant, but I would go to the prenatal classes around town and just to kind of like get a little bit of information, because there really was in a lot of ways, I had to fish for it. There wasn't anyone teaching this other than Gurmukh Khalsa, who is Kundalini yoga. And I loved her, and it was just very different from what I did. So I gathered what I could, and then I found myself pregnant, and I'm like, well, I better teach the class. And I learned through my body. And, the truth is I'm so inspired to teach women because I feel like there were so many missing things that I wasn't taught that would have helped me and saved my body in a lot of ways. And I also feel like there are a lot of things that I was given as a gift through the birthing community, through the support of an amazing team of people outside of the yoga community that really empowered me as a woman. And when I decided to have 2 home births, I was completely confident to do that, and so it was this great combination, right, of wanting, I want to support teachers and women to know some of the things that I feel like is just so essential and we are sometimes confused about, and then also to empower people to think a little bit outside of the norm of what birth means and even pregnancy.
Can you give an example of what some of those things are that you felt really enriched your own experience during pregnancy?
Well, early on, I would say about 6 months into my first pregnancy, I met a woman. She was a doula, and I never knew what a doula was, and I didn't know if I needed help. But she was a very special, unique person in that she wasn't just like your regular doula. She had been a nurse in NICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit, for 15 years. And she moved from the hospitals to home births and to photographing home births. And it was because she lived on this very sacred land in Topanga Canyon, which was where Amma would come. And I think it was even I don't remember, one of the Siddha Yoga masters would go there. And so she lived on this land. And one day this couple came and said, we want to birth on this land. And we want you to help us. And she was like still in the hospitals going, oh my God, what are these crazy people going to do if they need help, right? And she was very worried for them. And yet they taught her. And it was this way that she began to see how natural birth is and how fear gets in the way and how our bodies are really built in a very intelligent way. And when we learn how to live in harmony with nature in some ways, and to just trust and to breathe in a way that is bigger than our own mind's experience in a way, right? When we break ourselves out of that box of the environmental shaping in a way that we all have, we really have a lot more power at access to more power. And so anyway, that was her story. And when we sat with her, I was already a yoga teacher, and my mind was blown. I was like, wow, so I have a choice. So, I don't have to do this. I can, meaning what my doctor was asking me to do every month. And, even the intervention, it's all just what we sort of accept as normal because it's our society. And so she brought the questions up that I really appreciated because I wouldn't have thought of them. And then she introduced me to people that I was very, empowered by in terms of midwives. And when I did decide to have a home birth, it was 5 weeks before Luca was due, because I found a home to do it in. And I went, oh, Anna, this would be a great place to have a baby. I couldn't have done it in my apartment on Melrose Place. Like everyone, would have been like, in the room. But this home is private and beautiful. And she said, well, don't worry. I've already set up the midwife. She knows about you, and she's already going to take you. And I'm like, oh. So it was this really sweet way that the support had been there in a lot of ways. Right. So, and a lot of women don't have support, and so they're really going by either what their environment has taught them, right, through movies and through their parents or through their doctor. But to have, and it's a very small percentage of people that really understand this power that we have an opportunity to experience in just witnessing birth and saying yes to it. And not only that, but to recognize how pregnancy is a very sacred experience for the intimacy between the mama and the baby. And sometimes we lose sight of that. And that's where the yoga is such a great match. That's where yoga and pregnancy is like a perfect connection, right? All the teachings of yoga match that. I'm sorry, I'm so busy today. I keep my email keeps coming in. Sounds keep binging in the background, but so yeah, yoga to me is just. I forgot my thought, but you remind me of what I was saying, and I'll keep going. But I get excited,
I just said pregnancy is a sacred experience, and that's where yoga comes in, and all the teachings of yoga can enrich the experience.
Exactly, and just this idea that we teach our students to pay attention, right, to be present. What other experience gets your attention more than the growth of life inside of you, right? And witnessing the shape and the changes, and then to get up against this momentous moment where you go, wow, this baby has to get out, right? And I've been taught this is going to really be hard. And so how do we face our fears, right? How do we, what do we do when we're up against something that can be uncertain or scary. And yoga teaches us these things, but most of us, we kind of play it safe. We don't like to go that far into the discomfort,
Right,
and
right,
you
right.
know,
Yeah,
we surf our edge on our mat a little bit, but
yeah,
pregnancy really can ask us, if we choose to surf the edge and be willing to walk into a little more of
yeah,
what could appear to be dark and uncertain, or
yeah.
even like to step towards the fear a little bit, then run away from it.
Right,
The
right.
body actually responds
Yeah.
in amazing ways, and all the hormones that give us the juice to keep going, like you would a marathon runner.
Mm.
You get support. It's just a matter of going, wow, I didn't realize.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So you already touched on this a little bit, but we all know that exercise can be, is important during pregnancy, as any time of life.
Yes.
Um, does yoga bring something above and beyond what we could call like the exercise component? I mean, you already talked about it in terms
Yeah.
of, learning to stay present with fears and but what other things do you feel that yoga contributed, or and just working
Yeah.
with women? What are some of the things you see that women gain from it?
There's so many things that yoga supports women in, and I've worked with women that have never done yoga a day in their life. When they show up because they're pregnant and their doctors have said, "I think you should do something like yoga,"
Yeah.
and they're there learning how to become in a deeper relationship with their body.
Mm.
And sometimes it's just putting awareness into a certain part of the body that they've never thought about before,
Mm.
or putting meaning into an engagement, to put a little bit more, like to care a little bit more about what you do and why, right? So you look at how your body, the shape of your body is, and you go, wow, if I just adjust it a little bit more, that's going to be better. It's going to
Mm.
be better. I'm going to learn how to take care of myself better. And I think as a new mother, that's what we want. We want to be able to be the best for somebody else.
Right,
Yoga is
right.
teaching us first how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And in pregnancy, when we take care of ourselves, we're actually teaching another self-care, and we're doing the best we can for the new life inside. So it's a
Yeah.
double, support, double package
Yeah,
yoga.
yeah. And I presume I haven't read up on the studies, but are there any studies that show how yoga might affect women? Can it reduce some of the discomfort you feel during pregnancy? And
It's not, honestly, it's not ethical to test on pregnant women certain things, but obviously, um, I mean, over the last 15 plus years, that I have been teaching prenatal yoga and just witnessing more than one time a woman go through pregnancy with me, even, right?
right.
Um, I've absolutely seen where and there's a lot of studies on just breathing and how just deepening the breath, how when it just stimulating the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic response. And I mean, I teach all of that to these women. So they learn how the body responds to our feelings, and, to use the breath to
Mm,
help us to calm our feelings down and to get a little
mm,
more grounded and relaxed. And
yeah.
we get more power that way. We actually learn how to feel more kind of support, more into even more discomfort possibly, or into a new experience. So
Yeah.
um, I think there's a lot of studies about yoga in general, and I just would use those studies to say, yes, absolutely, have women had enormous results with not experiencing the kind of pain, because it's like a vicious cycle. When
Yeah.
we're afraid, it creates a stress response in the body.
Right.
It produces a certain hormone that then, keeps us kind of in a certain nervous system response, and that actually can create more contraction and more pain. So it's this pain cycle that you can
Interesting.
actually, when you're
Yeah.
stressed out, you actually experience pain more deeply. So it's
Yeah.
learning how to shift yourself into a different experience and a response in the body. And what it does is it actually turns, it's like a big yes or no in the system. It'll say yes, all systems are go, and practice and even into birth, say, right, in a way that's healthy. But as soon as we're tense and we're experiencing pain, the body's like, wait a minute, hold on, slow down. And actually things dysfunction in the body. The blood circulation changes because it no longer is going to feed, either the higher states of learning or, what's happening inside. The blood's going to rush to the extremities, to help us get away from danger. We've all heard it. When I first started to teach this in pregnancy, this really wasn't mainstream information in yoga or in mind-body connection. None of that was really talking, and that's what turned me on so much, is that this mind-body connection really helps pregnancy and birth. It really makes a difference. It's like, wow, this is an amazing key that helps women feel empowered in motherhood, and
good lesson for life in general.
Exactly. That's the thing that's so cool, is that a lot of the excitement that I learned through the community, in the not just prenatal yoga, but the pregnancy and birthing communities back in that day, which included learning about, epigenetics and how your genes turn on and off, and all this information that's now up in the forefront of our science these days. It's really what inspired me to put it into all of my other yoga teaching. Like it's been informing, everything. So love the opportunity to teach pregnancy yoga great. Because
now, are there any caveats that women should be aware of when they practice yoga during pregnancy?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are definitely things that I would say right away that a woman should now that once a woman knows she's pregnant, it's the opportunity to, if she can think of it as it's this sacred time where this intimate conversation is going on, and to really pay attention and to not be on autopilot with her practice. So if she has a yoga practice already, chances are she's going to want to keep it up. And in a way, it's kind of, your body is going to instantly start to show you signs, and you don't want to push them aside. You want to actually step towards them and say, wow, I actually feel like I need to rest today. And why? Is like within the first 6 weeks of pregnancy is when the most growth happens. So you're exhausted and you're trying to fight it because you don't want anybody to know you're pregnant, and you're trying to keep up your life. And, so I would just say the first thing is to just, really pay attention and honor where you're at each day. Because every day is different. And of course, there are things that we want to do in each of the trimesters as we go along to just make sure that we're not moving against the flow, so to speak, of the body is opening, and in some ways it actually is. It's a little counterintuitive because we need to open the body. We think, oh, great, yoga, let's do stretching and let's open the body. But I would suggest that we want to support the body in pregnancy more than ever because of the extra laxicity in the joints and in the ligaments. So there's a lot of things like that, that we want to. There are a lot of things that, like, I love to teach women the things to strengthen, and then first. And then what, of course, we need to open, because there are areas of the body that we obviously need to open.
And what about women who've never practiced yoga before? Is this a good time to start? Is it even possible to start?
It's interesting. In some countries, they say do not do anything in first trimester. It is a 40% chance of risk of miscarriage in first trimester. And there's a lot of fear behind doing something wrong. And a lot of countries that I go to, women have said, oh, I didn't even start yoga till second trimester. And you know what? It's okay, I think, to, if you have a skilled teacher who is doing the kind of stuff that is really you should be doing, which means don't just go to a regular yoga class if you've never done yoga before and you're pregnant and just fly around. Because you're trying to catch up, your body is like in a whole, and you're not really learning enough. So it really needs to be, I think, a little bit backed up in if you're new,
Right.
particularly. And but I would absolutely love and encourage women to come to me in first trimester because there are things we can do, and including supporting their heart and community and feeling like they, if they need that kind of person to even in the community of other prenatal women to find out resources or to understand they're not alone in what they're feeling.
Right.
Um, and also the breathing exercises can really help with nausea or with energy levels, things like that. The yoga building strength right away when the belly isn't so big is fantastic. So you can start to learn how to access the deepest core muscles of the body in first trimester. So there are a lot of things you can do.
Right.
But
Right.
I would say it's the building of the connections of strength and support that first are important. And I think I teach that to everyone. So the good news is, if you can modify along the way, everyone has a level that they can do
Right. Right.
in that pose. So you just back it up a little bit if they're brand new or if they're in third trimester or things like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. And Sue, you have a course coming up on Yoga U
I know, I'm excited.
on preparing for a healthy pregnancy and how yoga can help, and preparing both for healthy pregnancy and birth. So
Yes.
so tell us about that and
Yes.
what you're covering.
Well, what's interesting about that is I think about how much I want to give and, to be able to funnel the information into a bite-sized chunk where we can, digest it well. And so for me, it's the fun challenge is really taking 85 hours worth of information and putting it into two. So just know,
Sampler.
I do talk quickly, but there are things that I feel are essential. So in that respect, I've included a little bit about the trimesters because it's important that you understand pregnancy and understand the very specific. Some people don't even understand the trimesters. So just to understand the first 12 weeks and then keep going in that way. So I break it apart a little bit like that at first. Very little, not a big section on that. But then we get into, like I said, what's really interesting to me is to look at the prenatal body and how, as it grows, what the tendencies are in pregnancy. And so we look at the prenatal posture, and then we look at, okay, what are the areas that we naturally are going to want to open, like as the body gets bigger, right? The belly and the chest, the shoulders are coming forward. So we're going to look at, yeah, we definitely want to open the front of the body, right? But then what are the areas that we really want to strengthen in the body? So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at, just certain muscles and posture that will help support, what certain postures are going to work for strengthening muscles and which ones are going to work, which ones we want to open, right? Like that. And then, of course, I can't not put in, and of course, there'll be a little list of the do's and don'ts or just the general rule of what to do in pregnancy. I have practices. I want to do breathing practices with everybody because it's so important. One of the first things we can do in pregnancy and one of the last things, and even in postnatal, we can begin is to start and end with the breath and in between. So there'll be great breathing practices that I'll put in throughout, particular to pregnancy. And then I want to talk a little bit about the hormones of pregnancy and birth, because I think just like we talked about here, I'll review, and in more depth of this idea of moving into the parasympathetic nervous system and how we have a specific kind of cocktail of hormones that really do lead us down this incredible path of birth in the most empowered way. So I've just had so many women that just by understanding even the yoga philosophy of stepping into this pulsation of pregnancy, give them so much more courage, to choose, to make the choices that feel right for them. And so I'm going to bring in a little bit of goddess, a little bit of, breath work and the goddess into, the day 2. So we'll spend the first day looking more at the physical body, and we'll spend the second day even diving into a little bit of the esoteric practices of the goddess in the heart and the hormones. And then we'll do a little wrap up and review, and we'll see how much we can, get in 2 hours. There's a lot there, but I'm excited about it. And I think there's an audience that doesn't even know that they're out there, in the sense that if I could get my hands on women that have never had babies before, like the preconception and,
right.
thinking about having babies in their future, if they had the ability to just create this kind of fertile ground now, pre-yoga, pre-pregnancy with yoga practices,
right.
it's just a great gift. And
I think that's a key point, because you sort of you think in terms of the processes of pregnancy being kind of set in stone, whatever happens happens, but however you go into the pregnancy, the degree of health and nutritional level and fitness you bring is going to make all the difference all the way
really
through.
Is. It is. And if you can, nutrition, if we could spend so much time on nutrition and how important that is. And if women can, again, start before they have their babies to get their body balanced, they might have less pregnancy conditions and symptoms.
Yeah.
Which, so really nutrition is one of the best, insurances for a healthy pregnancy and birth. And, what's nice about yoga is yoga brings awareness to your mind, to your body, and to your heart. And it's built in that you want to start to take care of yourself better. And I think yoga practitioners tend to choose better, more organic choices in foods. And, so that's where yoga, again, helps to support good choices.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah. And you created a video practice also that goes with the course.
Yes, we did a class. It was lots of fun. It was very funny. I had 3 girls, and my 3rd trimester girl had her baby the week before the video was filmed. So she's not in the video, and she was like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "This is a beautiful thing," so it was very cute. So we have 2 bellies in the class with me, and it's a 45-minute class, which is, I think, enough for someone can do this every day even. It's very safe for all 3 trimesters, which is really nice. And then I put a bonus on the end where I was going to do it audio, but we decided to do it in video, which is I showed how to do the setup for one of our favorite restorative poses in pregnancy. Nice. And then I put you in it, and then I give you a long guided visualization journey, which I do all the time in my classes, which is a really sweet way to go inside and to find that sacred space when the outside is raging and you feel like you are you're losing it a little bit. You can go back inside to that place, and it really does set the stage again and the tone for the body to relax, which then sets the system back into its natural rhythms, and you have a healthier experience.
Right.
In general. It's a good thing to practice in pregnancy as preparation for birth. And it's just a good thing for our health in general, right? To learn how to relax.
Right, as any stage of life.
Yeah, so I think the class will be incredibly helpful, because it'll show a lot of the poses that we'll, and the posture and things like that. So,
right.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to showing it. So,
Yes. Well, we are too, very much. It just sounds like a fabulous contribution, and such a great treasure for women to have as they embark on this probably most important journey of all.
It really is. And and yoga by a woman's side is one of the best gifts she can give herself. And I hope some of the insights from, I don't know, the 15 plus years, I try to give as much as I can, of the good stuff to just really support the journey. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us and giving this great overview of all the great work you're doing. And we very much look forward to your course.
Yes, it's coming up soon.
Yeah. All right, take care, and thanks again, Sue.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.